What's going on, YouTube? Happy Monday. We are back with another reaction. We are back with another review. We are still moving forward with the Clouds mixtape. So for today's music video reaction, NF's Just Like You. So I already did 2 songs to the Clouds mixtape. Well, technically 3 because I already did Stories. So if you guys haven't seen it, go into my NF playlist and take a look at it. It's pretty good. But I recently just did Clouds, recently did That's a Joke. So now I'm going forward with the 3rd song in the album with Just Like You. A lot of people said that this is a really good song, that a lot of people listen to it quite frequently, that it's not just a song that's bumped for the beat or bumped for just the bars that NF spits, that it's one of NF's really good message spitting songs out there. So I'm really excited to get to it. I'm really excited to see what it's at. Still pushing forward with the Clouds mixtape. Going to keep pushing forward, but I figure this would be a good song since a lot of people say that they listen to this quite frequently. This song, I had quite a few comments telling me that. So I figured this would be a good way to start Monday off right. So let's see what he's got. But first, if y'all would be so kind to smash that like button, smash subscribe, and hit the little bell for future notifications, that would be greatly appreciated. Anyways, NF, let's see what you got. All right, let's check this out.
Just in case my car goes off the highway, or the plane that I get on decides that it's my last day, I want you to know when you're alone and you feel afraid, you're not the only person in the world that isn't okay. There's millions of us just...
Wow. All right, so right off with usually he has like a little bit of a either orchestral or choir or piano piece in the beginning, which this one did have a piano piece, a couple little chords hitting, but right off the bat with his voice, just in case my car goes off the highway or my plane decides that this is my last day, if you feel alone, you're not alone. Like saying, if you have your issues and you feel alone, just in case this is my last day, I'm letting you guys know you're not alone. And he's talked about that in all of his songs, like as far as in his albums, and especially in his song therapy sessions, when he talks about him being confronted by fans saying, it's because of you saved my life. Like, it's because of you that it gave me the motivation to push forward, which is awesome. And this is a direct relation to that and a direct continuation to the message that he's been putting out all this time of bringing his fans together in the same light as where he's in his own dark places. You're not alone if you're in your dark place. Come join the group. Come, you're with NF. You're with Nate. You're with me. Like you're in the group.
You're not the only person in the world that isn't okay. There's millions of us just like you, like you, like you, just like you, like you. There's millions of us just like you, like you, like you, just like you. Like
I like the piano.
It's strange the way the mind can wander, but also stop the gossip and chat with memories that you and me aren't really fond of. Maybe you're out to find love.
It's amazing how the mind can wander but stop to gossip with the memories that make you want, to stop and gossip with the bad memories. The mind always, no matter where it's at, it always has time to be able to take you back to a spot that you don't want to be. Always has time to take you back to where you don't want to be. It's like, people with anxiety, there was a viral meme that went out, a person, trying to sleep, and it's like a back and forth between their brain, and the brain's like, hey, are you trying to sleep? And it's like, yeah. He goes, well, aren't you worried? The guy's like, about what? And he's like, I don't know. And the guy's like, oh my God, you're right. Like, that's the depiction of anxiety. That's the depiction of something going wrong in the head. Like, just your brain doing that for absolutely no reason. And I know that's in a more comedic sense. This is more in a serious sense, but it's relative to the same context.
And chat with memories that you and me aren't really fond of. Maybe you're out to find love. Maybe you lost who you was. Maybe you're just like me and feel the need to stay in your rut. Cause if you left it, you might feel like you're no longer you. It's so impressive the way the mind can play with the truth. It's interesting.
I like how he put that. Maybe you're like me and you want to stay in your rut because if you leave, you might not feel like you. Like, a lot of people want to leave where they're at if they're in a slump, but they also have that battle where it's like they know that they're who they are because of the slump they're in, because of the issues that have made them who they are. And if they push to leave that slump, then who will they become? It's that whole comfort zone versus leaving your comfort zone kind of thing. Real self-growth never happens if you stay in your comfort zone. And being in a rut is not a comfort zone, but being afraid to leave that rut, that is the comfort zone. The mind warps it to become the comfort zone. It's kind of like your brain generates its own version of Stockholm syndrome with your own issues. You hate your issues, but you love your issues. You're a slave to your issues. You're a prisoner to your issues, but you start to depend on them because that's part of what makes you you. And that's a hard hitter.
No longer you. It's so impressive the way the mind can play with the truth. It's interesting that nobody can walk in your shoes but still relate and feel the same. So in a way, guess we do.
Mm-hmm.
You ever think about what it would be like if the clouds were gone and you could see light? If the door was open, would you take flight or just close the curtains up and stay inside? Take a
If the clouds were open, you could see light. Would you open up and take flight or close the curtains or stay inside? That right there, it's the whole. That was a beautiful imagery to like being in a rut. If the clouds open, the clouds are normally depicted as being gloomy, overcast. So you can't see the light, you can't see the sky, and you can't elevate yourself. And so though some of us, i.e. me, I prefer overcast. I prefer the clouds, mainly because I live in Las Vegas and we barely ever get clouds. And I think it's actually overcast right now, and it's wonderful out. It's wonderful to me. It's not gloomy to me at all. But I get in this symbolic in the symbolism of it that's what he's trying to depict with it, and that's a really smart way how he did that.
We're gone and you could see light. If the door was open, would you take flight or just close the curtains up and stay inside? Take a walk with me, take a risk with me. I'm scared too, and it gets so tempting when you're so empty to disown everything you hold. Dealing when you know clearly you've been so buried in your own fairy tale. The soul's tearing, but your holes in me. I relate to it, but in case you've been thinking no one does, here's a great theory. Throw a Hail Mary, let your mind fly to the sunrise. Could be so scary, make your faith vary. Feel the pain glaring, but the weight carried ain't in vain. Hear me, hear me. Just in case my car goes off.
Ooh, I'm gonna rewind that.
No one does. Here's a great theory. Throw a Hail Mary, let your mind fly to the sunrise. Could be so scary, make your faith vary. Feel the pain glaring, but the weight carried ain't in vain. Hear me, hear me. Just in case my car goes.
Take a chance and take flight. He's reiterating that you feel alone, but you trust me, you're not alone. We have different issues, but we have similar issues. We feel the same. But just in case I don't get to you, take a Hail Mary, fly towards the sunrise. Make all that pain so it's not in vain. It's not worthless. Make it so it's something that you can use. Make it your fuel to be better.
Make your faith vary, feel the pain glaring, but the weight carried ain't in vain. Hear me, hear me. Just in case my car goes off the highway, or the plane that I get on decides that it's my last day. I want you to know when you're alone and you feel afraid, you're not the only person in the world that isn't okay. There's millions of us just like you, like you, like you. Just like you, like you. There's millions of us just like you, like you, like you. Just like you, like you.
All right, I know it's about to kick into something else, but that beat with the piano and just how he flowed, that was, that hits deep. Just when music can resonate with what you're saying and it packs just that hit. That's solid. That's solid.
So often I feel desperate. I think my heart's infected. How about yours? How about yours? How about yours? I guess it. You feel the best when your life is hectic. You might be destined to stay defective. So join the club. It ain't that hard to get in.
Feels like your heart's infected, and if you stay busy, you might stay defected. If you prefer to stay busy, that means I'm very much that way. And when my mind's racing, I'm going through stuff, I like to stay busy. I like to keep going, but it's a benefit and it's a negative in itself. And because you're taking your mind away from the issues and you're actively bettering something, if you're staying active, at least in a very progressive sort of way, and in a very positive sort of way, actually in a building sense. But you're not giving yourself the time to think, to emotionally captivate and understand what's going on, to be able to grow, to not be quote unquote defective. You have that defect about you. You have that issue about you. But if you stay busy, you're not going to have time to fix that issue. To fix that issue inside your brain. And I like that. And saying like it feels like my heart's infected. You could have the best family, best people around you, best circle. It doesn't matter. But if your internal emotions and your structure and your just how you feel are not in a homeostasis with your body or with your brain, your mind and your body and everything, it feels like you're infected. It feels like there's something wrong with you. And then how he forwarded that into to be able to join. I think he said join the group. It's not that hard to get in. Like the group of people that are just like you. We're just like you. Welcome to the club. Like I said that earlier. Welcome to the club. It's not that hard to get in. You have the issues, you're in.
You might be destined to stay defective, so join the club, it ain't that hard to get in. It's hard to leave though, look at the guest list. I bet that your name is on it, don't believe me, check it. See, dead ends in life we come to tend to raise some questions. Suggestion, know that your feelings might give wrong directions. Infested! Yeah.
Once you join the group, it's hard to leave. You're on the guest list. And sometimes your feelings will give you wrong directions. That is 100% true. But on the other side, I gotta also say, like, NF is 100% right about that. But coming from someone that I try very hard to, when it comes to with tough decisions to be made, with issues that come about, I try very hard to set emotion aside. Or I used to try very hard to set emotion completely aside and be calculating. Just think logically. And I'm very good at doing that. And that's why I said the last reaction I did with That's a Joke, and I said some people say I'm a great person, some people say I'm an asshole, because they're both right. It just depends on accordingly how I am. Or some people say I'm a cold-hearted, calculating person, because sometimes I have to be. But I've learned over the years that it's a combo of two, because if you rely solely on your emotion, it can steer you, it can lead you astray. It can steer you in the wrong direction. If you rely solely on your brain and your thought process of just logically thinking and reasonability and just thinking of pure just directives, it's going to lead you astray too. It's not going to lead you down the exact appropriate path you should. It's the combo of the two, the logical and the emotions. You want to bounce and reverb both of them off each other to get down the right path, to get down the correct path. So you're not taking the wrong directions, taken by two polar opposites. Like, that's solid. That's a very, very cool way how he put that.
Suggestion, know that your feelings might give wrong directions. Infested, yeah, with the feeling of failure. Let it take over your body, it makes you question the life that you have. Situations you might have enjoyed become nothing but dated, old and forgotten.
You're infested with the feeling of failure, and then it will make you nothing but dated. Because if you're infested with the feeling of failure, you're never going to keep moving forward with whatever it is. Then if enough time passes of you not moving forward and you not progressing forward in your own stuff, that means your issues become dated. And if you haven't moved forward from your issues, that means you become dated. You become obsolete as far as your own emotional status in regards to whatever issue it may be. It becomes an obsolete issue. And that's very much a kind of an internal versus external view of it. You know, it may not be obsolete to you, but as far as societally wise, as far as what's happening outside of just you, even if it's just your inner circle, or even a grander circle, or even the whole population, it doesn't matter. You become dated in accordance with those whatever size outer circle that it's referring to.
Your body, it makes you question the life that you have. Situations you might have enjoyed become nothing but dated, old and forgotten. But what would you say if I told you that there was some hope we could make it? I know what you're thinking, I'm thinking it too. Could you really improve and be something worth saving? See, I can pretend like I have all the answers, but none of us do. It's the reason we battle, convincing yourself that you don't really matter. It's like feeding a cancer and letting it travel to every part of
Him saying that, what if I told you that there's hope, that to be able to see the light at the end of the tunnel? I don't have the answers, nobody does, but to tell yourself that you're nothing is like feeding a cancer. It's like just feeding giving cancer what it needs. It's a cancer inside you. It's that negative emotion, negative thought, negative connotation towards yourself that grows, and it's human nature to latch onto negative thoughts. It's more common and easier to latch onto negative thoughts as opposed to good thoughts. It's harder to make yourself happy as opposed to making yourself upset, and then it's the domino effect. Happiness doesn't always lead to more and more and more and more and more happiness. It doesn't. It's not like dominoes ticking over and you just go more and more and more into it. Whereas being upset, being angry, being sad, it can domino effect into deeper and deeper anger and sadness. And that's human nature to be able to gravitate that way. We don't do it consciously, of course, but we do it subconsciously. And it's that whole back and forth aspect of it, of trying to actively not feed the cancer, as he's saying.
It's the reason we battle, convincing yourself that you don't really matter. It's like feeding a cancer and letting it travel to every part of you. But what if we did the unthinkable and cancel our trips? What's achievable depends on the risk, so pick up your chin and listen to this. Just in case my car goes off the highway, or the plane that I get on decides that it's my last day, I want you to know when you're alone and you feel afraid, you're not the only person in the world that isn't okay. There's millions of us just like you, like you, like you. Just like you, like you. There's millions of us just like you, like you, like you, just like you, like you.
Hello.
Yeah. Everybody falls sometimes. Just remember that that's alright. It's the rainy days that give us love for the sun. And if it isn't, I guess I'll be fine believing it does.
Yes, we fall sometimes. You just have to understand that that's okay. Everyone falls. Even talk about it in Dark Knight or in Batman Begins. Why do we fall? So we can pick ourselves back up. And having clouds just makes us more acceptable to loving seeing the sky, seeing the light. And I know I just said that I live in Vegas and I always see the light, but I prefer clouds. It's more of the, it's in that symbology. It's what you're going through is okay, because then that just opens it up to where you love and embrace when it gets better, regardless. The trivial times just make way for the better times. It makes you accept to it more. It makes you enjoy it better, and it makes you want to hold on to it longer. And that's and like you said, if that's not true, then I'm okay with what do you say?
And if it isn't, I guess I'll be fine believing it does.
Yeah. If it isn't, then I'll be fine believing it does. If everyone else says it, that's not the case. Well, you know what? I'm gonna believe that. That's my choice. And then when it does happen for me, I manifested that.
Everybody falls sometimes. Just remember that that's alright. It's the lows in life that make you cherish the highs. And if it isn't, I guess I'll be fine believing a lie. Hey! Just in case my car goes off the highway, or the plane that I get on decides that it's my last day, I want you to know when you're alone and you feel afraid, you're not the only person in the world that isn't okay. There's millions of us just like you, like you, like you, just like you, like you. There's millions of us just.
Him breaking out into that little bit more singing, and still, like I've said in his prior songs, his raspiness of his voice through this whole song is awesome. Like his raspiness of his voice and his like slight singing tonality that he did through this, up until this one where he's actually vocally pushing forward his auditory abilities to actually create an actual singing, not just like a low raspy kind of style singing in tune, but actually singing. But throughout the whole, that raspiness really helps create that thought process and that emotional context of what he's trying to talk about, of what he's trying to deliver with this song. And that's why I love songs like this that deliver a message. And it's not just what he's saying, it's not just how he's saying it, it's also the piano that he uses, the chords that he uses, the drum beat that he uses, how he decides to space out his words and use it and break up the fragments of each sentence just to push of course, the bars and the syllables and the rhymes and the rhyme schemes, but how NF can even just alter his iambic pentameter, the beat and rhythm of how he decides to make his rhymes flow to drive an emotion. It's all calculated. Every single bit of that is thought out and calculated, and you can tell it in this song. And that's why NF is NF.
Like you, just like you, like you. There's millions of us just like you, like you, like you. Just like you, like you.
Wow. That was good. That was a very inclusive song. Like all of NF's songs, anytime it talks about something that everyone can relate to or less people can relate to, like even when he did how could you leave us, not everyone can relate to that on a direct sense, but everyone can at least relate to that in the aspect of everyone's lost something that they love or someone that they love, and they can really see that emotional pull and they can relate to it. But something like this, where if you fall, you're in a rut or anything like that, everyone can relate to this. I don't know anyone that's been positive and happy and just, elated 100% of their life. It hasn't had anything bad happen. It hasn't gone through an issue with friends, hasn't gone through an issue with work or school or college or gone through a divorce or something like that. It doesn't matter. Everyone's been through something, and they can relate to something like this, where if you're in a rut, welcome to the club. Welcome to the club. And that also helps people in the aspect of not just connecting with NF, not just connecting with everyone else, but it also is a very, I will say, polite way of saying sometimes our issues are not as bad as we think. A lot of people tend to think that my issues are the worst issues. My issues are the worst because it's affecting me. But then when you see other people having other certain issues, your issues aren't that bad usually. by and large, they're not that bad. They're not as bad as someone else's. So you got to count your blessings. Be a part of the group. You're in the group, but count your blessings. But understand, it's okay to fall. Just make sure that when you do realize your blessings, when the clouds open and the skies show, you embrace it better. That's the message that is part of what's being driven. That's the underlying context behind this song. And that is phenomenal. NF. Another hat tip for you, man. That was awesome, Nate. All right, so that was my reaction to Just Like You by NF, and damn, that was amazing. I loved the message to it, and I loved how I was able to connect to it, even though I haven't had as many traumatic or sorrowful experiences as everyone. I mean, yes, of course, I've had my highs and lows, or my bends and glens, if you understand the mountainous style of Scotland and all that. But I've had my highs and lows, and even I can connect to that. But I haven't had lows as low as a lot of other people. I can say that openly. I can't connect to NF on certain levels that of some of the stuff that he's talked about. I haven't had that happen to me. I haven't had that kind of traumatic experience happen to me yet. But I can still connect to it as far as in an empathic way to be able to understand where he's coming from and what message he's talking about. And that's awesome. Because if you as an artist can talk to people, not just people that have shared experiences, of course someone with shared experiences, if you present the message in a proper way, people are going to connect to it. Yes. But if you can drive a message to people that haven't experienced it, that haven't experienced everything you've experienced, and still can connect and feel the emotion that you're putting through and feel the connectivity between the artist and that audience member and then the entire audience, that's solid. That is a solid thing to do, and that is what NF is, and that's where I say he is a true artist. Like, that song just culminates it all. Like, that was phenomenal. But if you guys like this reaction, as always, be sure to smash that like button, smash subscribe, and hit the little bell for future notifications. That would be greatly appreciated. And also comment down below. Let me know of any other bands, artists, genres, songs, anything that's got a good message, that's got a good sound to it, that's got a good emotion to it, anything that drives something serious. As you guys know, I'm going through this album straight through. So today's Monday, and I'm doing Just Like You. So future songs are coming out very soon. So keep feeding me. I'll keep feeding you. Keep more and more songs coming my way. Just keep more bands and songs. I have a lot of other people on my list that I'm going to be getting to. I just really wanted to hammer through this album because so far this album is amazing, and everyone says it doesn't let up. So I'm going to keep going with this and finish this all the way through, and then I'm going to get to everything else. So keep letting me know, but keep feeding me. I'll keep feeding you. We'll keep that circle going. As always, you guys know what it is. I love all y'all, but I'm out.